Everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Lab. I'm your boy Dangerous, and we're going to look at making some soca beats. In today's video, we're going to look at creating some Bajan power soca. Bajan power soca is very up-tempo, and like bashment soca is very aggressive. Heavy bass lines, a lot of drums, has a lot of drums from Tuk music, which is our culture. But let's take a closer look. Follow me. All right, so we're in the lab, and today, like I said, we're going to look at some Bajan power soca. Bajan power soca is mainly driven by drums and bass. So the first thing that we can do today is we can lay down the drums, bass, and then we can sprinkle some keys. So let's go. We start with the kick. Straight kick. We at 150 BPM. You could go up to 160, 165. Anything above 165, you playing with the tempo gods. So you can do it at 150, and if you need any more speed, you can always speed up. But you try to catch the groove at a nice timing that you can feel it first and then speed up. So start at 150, and you can start with a straight kick. Let's look for a kick. Take off the length a little bit so it can get nice and snappy, not with so much boom. You want to leave room for the bass to do its work also. So we try to find that snare pattern now. Typical Bajan soca is pretty much straight up. This kind of vibe. Let's go through some snares though. Let's change that snare. So I can add another snare to bring out the elements with the great snares and the little rolls and stuff. So I look for a lighter snare like a piccolo. I'll layer under that. All right, let me change this kick drum. I want something a little more, not so booming. Like I said, you have those booming kicks, you have to use the bass. So like when you're using the sub bass, you don't want to have a booming kick, so you have two of those sonics competing against each other. So you just want to use a real simple kick with the 1K piercing coming through so you can get the click. And a nice little bottom, but not too much. Also, when you're choosing kick drums, you ought to realize also that the faster the track, it all depends on what your track build of. But if you have a lot of things happening, then you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of boom from that kick. So we can use this kick right here. I want to change this snare. Yeah, I prefer that. We add some toms. Okay, we add another tom. Next thing that we want to try to add now is some percussion down to just get some vibes. I also add a hi-hat. Open hi-hats are Bajan power soca favorites on the ones. Sing, she, sing, 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 sing. So let's add that real fast. So like I say, you just want them right in on the ones already like that. That's classic Bajan power soca. So we're gonna look at some percussion. Iron is always good. In Bajan Power Soca, we like cowbells, timbales, any kind of iron, any kind of metal. But it usually is the snares that usually are in front. The snare work is always be in front, but these nice percussion, you could use the percussions to help reinforce the whatever the snare is doing, or to help bring out the groove some more. So we can go through, we can add a kind of metal. This is a kind of cowbell, kind of iron. I don't know what it is really. It's labeled cowbell, but you know. Add some more percussion. We look for something wood or leather, bongos, wood blocks, anything that will give you that kind of earthy, kind of Afro vibe. They're gonna add the African in it now. Nice. And you can never go wrong with a whistle. For drum roll, and keep it real classic. Classic Dennery. Dennery roll is just 16s, da 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 da. Crescendo sometimes, but I can't really go wrong with that either. All right, so let's add a crash, and there we have our drums. So yeah, so now that we have our basic groove and we have a drum roll, let me just do a sequence where we just have the groove and then break into a roll so that we can, get some vibes where we build the track with some music and the bass and all that. So just quick automation, whatever you all use to automate. We go for 8 bars, roll on the 7. So we can do some 8-bar loops and make sure that you roll to come into the next loop. So however you automate it, with your DAW or your sequencer, you can do that. You could put the roll wherever you want, but I'm going to do an 8-bar loop and roll. And basically we have the drums ready to go, drum roll included. So yeah, it's time to put some bass. So yes, like I said, we have the drums. We got a nice drum groove happening. Nice percussion, snare in front. So whatever the key the percussion is in, I usually do the same thing with the bass. So let's play the drums that we have and try to single out where that percussion will fall. So this conga is actually hitting a note, so let's find that note. I will go with a sub bass. A sub bass is usually the bass of preference for your typical Bajan power soca. I'm using a bass from the Saboom bass module, the Saboom bass 2 module, sine bass, sub bass. Let's listen to the drums and this percussion and try to get the key. So that's F. So we can do the bass line in F. So let's record some stuff. I think we have enough. Quantize. Full velocity if you can. And let's check it out. All right, so we're gonna use that loop and copy it, paste it down the track. So next, we're gonna look at putting down some keys. For the Bajan power soca, keys can vary all depending on the arrangement. But in this case, we can just use some very light keys so that the bass and drums could feature more. You can usually use a lead or like a flute or some kind of sine tone or square tone. Just playing a line, repeating loop over and over. So let's play with some tones. I'm going to use the expand today for that. You usually look for a lead or something like that that's very percussive also, that can add to the drums as well. So I kind of like that tone. Let me just record some stuff. I kind of like that loop. So let me just quantize, full velocity, pick the best loop and copy and paste down the track. Now, usually when you have these tones that come with a lot of effects, I also find that the drier the mix, the less effects that you have on the tones, especially you have to be careful with the reverbs and the delays. Like too much reverb and delays actually slows down the track and it takes out the excitement. So the drier the tone, you don't have to be completely dry, but you might want to address the effects. The lengths of your tones as well. So, for instance, let's look at what we just recorded. A lot of delay, so we take it off. It still has a delay, so I think it's this effect level. Not too dry, you could add on a little bit, you know, just to make it sound expensive. And then what you want to do is take off some of the release. You want to take off some of the release so that you could get a little more drive with the tone. So yeah, so we have our bass, we have our driving keyboard, we have drums, and at this point, I like to look at using some stabs or some orchestral hits, some horn stabs, it could be a percussion drop, something just to give it some more aggression, more drive to the rhythm also. So let's look at doing some orchestral shots. And you're going to use the expand. So, let's take off some of the tail. Take off the release, I guess. And also take off the reverb some more. Let's take it down a little bit. So let's record some hits. So let's quantize that. Full velocity. And copy and paste. So yes, we have the orchestral hits. We have driving keyboard line, we have the bass line, and we have some banging drums. So the only thing that I could think about adding at this point, not to interfere with the artists when they're vibing or writing, is to probably give them some chords. No, you don't want to put like 7 and 9 chords like a classical piece. Usually Bajan, power soca is usually 1 chord, 2 chords. Some might be 3, some might have some movement, but you know, it all depends the arrangement. For this one, we could mess around 1 or 2 chords. The tones that we will use, that I like to use, is something either like synths that could fill up the spectrum, or something like an accordion or like a banjo, something that could just play some nice chords, but not pad chords, something like more driving, like strum wise. So let's take a look at that. We can pull something out the M1 today. You know, clavinet. Harpsichord. All right, so let me try some stuff. I record it at the same time. So we can do 2 parts of this synth, harpsichord. I'm gonna do a kind of lead jam, and then some jams that I could do for verses or whatever. So, and a kind of intro too. So let's quantize that and pick the best parts and start to edit, copy and paste. So now that we have our little chords, let's take a listen to the track from top to bottom and see what we have, because this is basically the beat right here. So we have our drums, we have our bass, driving keyboard, hits, and some chord action. Take a listen. We have our Bajan power soca, drum, bass, something that we could sing rags, flags, working up, jerk down, kind of vibe. Thanks for coming out. Join me next time.